All right, I'd like to welcome you all to our Promote Workshop. This is where you can come to learn about CCLCM faculty appointments and promotions. Most of the information we'll be talking about today will cover both. So we're glad you joined us. If the recording works, then I will be posting it online in the next week or so on our website. If it doesn't work, then there are two older videos listed on our website. You can feel free to look at those if you have any other questions or email us. Dr. Kaboo, she will be joining us soon. She's in another meeting right now. Nicole Deming will be joining us soon as well. My name's Deneen Lancaster. I'm the program manager of CCLCM Faculty Affairs. As you probably know, we're part of the CASE family. So CASE has a lot of institutions they work with: the Cleveland Clinic, UH, Metro, the VA, and their own staff and scientists. All right. Bev, you're on. Do you want to introduce yourself? Bev is my coworker in the Department of Faculty Affairs.
Hi, I'm sorry. Hello.
Oh, you're good.
Hi, I'm Beverly Payne, and I've been with Faculty Affairs for about a year now. So I'm still new to the game, but I'm enjoying it, and I'm learning a lot more all the time. So welcome, everybody. Glad to see so many people on, and hopefully we'll be able to answer all your questions tonight.
Right. Thanks, Bev. All right. So why pursue a faculty appointment with CCLCM and CASE? First of all, you should want to promote yourself and get credit for everything you're doing. The majority of the time when people apply, they've already done all the hard work already of lectures, writing papers and all that. You might as well get academic credit for doing all that. It's a good way to have your staff rank match your faculty rank. So if you're a full staff member of Cleveland Clinic, it would be nice if you had an associate professor or professor rank to match that. That doesn't, always work out, but it would be nice if that did. You'd be better positioned to apply for grants. A lot of times, if you don't have a faculty appointment, it's very hard to get a grant. They want to see that you're with an academic institution. You can get more involved in academic medicine and policy. Our own Dr. Kaboo has a professorship with us, and she's gone on now and is working with CASE as well. So there's a lot of possibilities to move academic medicine forward by being involved. And there's more professional benefits than that. I'm going to play our video right now that Dr. Kaboo did get made a few years ago when she had a grant. So let me pull that up. And if you can't hear it, you will let me know, I'm sure. Thank you.
I had gotten into medicine to become an academic physician. There's a hierarchy and there's a respect for titles. And to me, an academic title went without saying.
I think titles matter, and I've been asked to be a part of many national and international committees because of the title of professor.
My department chair and institute chair had been encouraging me, so now my title carries more of a mid-career weight.
There are multiple benefits when people have this academic appointment. First of all, the pride of belonging to the faculty for the medical school. Number two, is the academic prestige, is the recognition you have outside of the Cleveland Clinic. It is a big deal nationally.
The title has brought me many, many opportunities for research.
When you need national grants and you have an academic appointment versus not having the academic appointment, that's the difference between getting the grant or not getting the grant.
When companies come to Cleveland Clinic to look for enrollment of patients in clinical trials, often they want the title. When they're looking at, well, what doctors will be principal investigator. So I think it does help with that.
We are a training institution. So I think it's important for our students and residents to see us going to that next level, especially with more women being in medical school classes now.
There are very few people of color that have a professor title. People of diverse backgrounds can be professor too.
There's no doubt that students and trainees will have a different type of respect for you if you have an academic title. They know that you've earned it.
It's very important to move to the next level because this reflects the contribution you are doing to medicine.
I think it gives credence to all of the work in terms of being able to get to that level, to get the recognition for it is important.
To me, it was a natural continuation of my journey. The academic title is definitely part of who we are.
Getting this title of professor really is not that difficult. There is work that's involved, but most of us are going to work anyhow. So go for it.
All right, how did everybody enjoy that? Dr. Aran that you saw on there talking, he is a professor now. So he did go ahead and get a promotion from the time that video was made, and now he is a professor. So it is worth it. A lot of times people will say, you know, I bet it's hard to get one or not many people get approved. Actually, almost everybody who applies does get approved because we look at your application and we help you with it to make sure that it looks good, that you are qualified. And so probably about 99% of our applications go through. So if you're worried that maybe you won't make it, we help you along. So some of the benefits after you get your faculty appointment are you can get a case ID card, you get a EDU case email address and network access. If you're here in Cleveland, you can use their gym. You get discounts at their bookstore. If you work in Cleveland or the local area here, you can get electronic access to the case library. All right, so moving on, all CCLCM appointments are non-tenure. So if you're in the regular track, case calls that full-time, we call it regular track. That means you have a significant involvement in academic medicine and teaching. If you're not as involved, you may want to apply in what we call the clinical or adjunct track. Case calls it part-time. So you're doing limited academic activities and teaching, but it's still worth getting an appointment. So the ranks in the regular track are professor, associate professor, assistant professor, and instructor. These are all in the regular track, and so they allow you to vote on some issues, serve on the School of Medicine committees, and make a difference. In our clinical track, our part-time, we usually use the 3 ranks of clinical professor, clinical associate professor, and clinical assistant professor. Now these ranks, it's important to have some type of rank, so that's good if you have a clinical one, but please note that you're only allowed to vote on a few issues. The majority of the issues will not be open for you to vote on, nor will most of the committees. They require somebody in the regular track. So a lot of people, once you become an assistant professor or you're an associate professor, at some point, you're probably going to want to go for promotion. So a senior promotion is going from assistant professor to associate professor, or going from associate professor to professor. You are not allowed to skip any, so you have to move along. If you come in at associate, then you can go ahead and promote to professor at some point when you're ready. So some of the application materials that you'll need is your CV and our mandatory template, a chair's nomination letter, a personal statement, which we'll talk about more later, a teaching portfolio, teaching evaluations, and a summary from either your chair or an education administrator in your department. You'll need referee names for colleagues, trainees, and external. And you'll need to complete a declaration of candidacy form. There are a few other items, but these are the main ones. So if you're applying just in the regular track, so you're not going for a promotion right now, you maybe are new to the clinic or you haven't had an appointment already, and you figure out that you have the reputation required for, say, associate professor. You can go ahead and apply for that. It's almost like a promotion application, but there are a few less items that you need. So it's actually a slight bit easier. It does take really the same amount of time to get approved and to work through all the steps, but you'll need your CV and our template and the nomination letter and the other items here. You just won't need the declaration form. And there's a couple other little differences, but not much. For the clinical track, you can see that you don't need as much. So the applications are much easier. You need your CV in any format, but it should be neat and concise. A lot of CVs end up having items missing on them, and we have to go back and ask you to fill them in. You'll need a chair's nomination letter, and the only referee names you'll need to put in your online application are for colleagues. So you can see it's a little easier. It gets done a lot quicker. Just to let you know.
One second. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have interrupted. I should have raised my hand. I just wanted to know if the slides should be advancing because they don't seem to be advancing.
Really?
Yeah, we're on slide number 1, I think. No, let's see. We're on slide number 2.
Oh, I've been advancing the whole time and it shows it's working. Okay. Thank you for telling me.
Are you maybe sharing a different screen?
Yeah, I'm just gonna go ahead and just do the PowerPoint instead of sharing. And I am very glad you told me. Come on. Okay. Is it moving now?
We don't see the document at all right now.
Okay. I apologize, everyone. This is how I've always done it. I don't know why it's not working. All right, I'm going to see if I share my screen again. Hold on. Can you see this?
Yes. And we see your cursor. Yep.
Okay, even though this isn't the best way to show you, let's see if that looks better. Okay, so let me just go back. I'm going to show you the screens, but I won't spend a lot of time on them because I already talked about them. Benefits at case, these are the ones I went over with you. Then here's the regular track and the clinical adjunct track. I was talking about greater than half the time, significant involvement, or the limited involvement more with the clinical. These were the regular tracks I mentioned. These were the clinical ones. These are the materials I was talking about that are for senior promotion. So your CV, chair's nomination letter. You ask for the nomination letter inside the application. There's a link that you click on that will email your chair and ask them for a nomination letter. Personal statement, teaching portfolio could be mandatory or optional. We'll go over that later. Let me move to the next one. For regular track, there's a little less that's involved, not much, but just a teeny bit. And those were the items I was talking about. And then in the clinical track, you can see that there's much less that's required. So the only referee names you need are colleague, and it's a quicker, easier application. So this is the screen I was about to show you. So there are no submission deadlines at CCLCM anymore. There used to be one deadline. It used to be for senior promotions. Again, that's associate, people promoting to associate professor or promoting to professor, there are no longer any deadlines with that. You're supposed to apply whenever you feel like you're ready. So no deadlines at CCLCM. There are deadlines at CASE though for promotions. So check if you're with a different institution, check with them. So here's a little timeline of what happens with senior promotions. So you're going to submit your application when you've reached your reputation that you need. And we will work on your application, tell you if anything needs to be corrected. So a lot of people are worried once they hit submit, they can't change anything. If we deem something needs changing, we will ask you to do it. You're always encouraged to update your CV, and we work with you to get the application the best it can be. Then we're going to start soliciting your referees for letters. And once we get everything in, we're going to go ahead and send it to our CAP committee for a vote. And our CAP committee down below here, you can see, is our Committee on Appointments and Promotions. And this is at CCLCM. We don't have tenure at CCLCM, so we got to drop the T. So it's a little easier to say. Approval at CASE. The CAPT votes on your application after we send it over. And then the dean, the provost, and the president need to look at your application. And then the final step, it goes to the board of trustees. So for promotions, it's either going to go to the board of trustees in December or in June. And because of that, your rank will either become effective in January or July. So the old way used to be, when we had a deadline, is they all went to the board of trustees in December and got approved for January 1. No, sorry, all went in June and got approved July 1. But now they could go at either time depending on when they're ready. And that was it. All right, I'm going to stop sharing. Dr. Kaboo, are you ready to talk? She might not be here yet. I know she had another meeting, so we'll see if she answers me. Dr. Kaboo, if you're ready, we're ready for you. If not, Nicole, are you on? We could move on to you.
Yes, Deneen, I am on.
Hey.
How are you
Hi.
doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I am excellent. Thank you.
You got a good crowd.
Yeah, excellent. Excellent. So I do want to actually just ask quickly if anyone has any questions. I know you had left that open, but
Okay.
double check. And then Deneen, did you have the presentation or did you need me to pull it up?
I can pull it up, and you'll just tell me when to move then. I believe I have it.
Good deal. Well, my name is Nicole Deming. I am the Assistant Dean for Faculty Affairs and Human Resources in the School of Medicine. I'm in the Department of Bioethics. I've been here since 2009. And I have the privilege of actually getting to read and review all of your appointment and promotion packets. And it is one of my favorite parts of my job. You are doing incredible work. And it is so exciting to learn about everything that you are accomplishing in your care of our patients and our community, in the research that you're doing, and in teaching the next generation of both medical and researchers. So just thank you for all you're doing. And so our idea is that we want to make sure that what you are doing so well is getting out there, that people know about it, that you have a voice in your field, and that your contributions are moving the field forward. And so as we look at academic promotions, the guidelines at Case Western Reserve University in the School of Medicine recognize your contributions and its impact outside of our Case community. So our campuses are 5, and we are very supportive of each other, but we want you to get it outside of our community so that individuals in the region and the nation and internationally get to benefit from your expertise. So again, promotions is a very good thing if you can advance. Yes, see, there it is. The focus of it is going to be on going to associate professor and professor. But there are 5 academic ranks. And so next Tuesday, there will be a session if you are involved with either reviewing or advising or know a colleague who is interested in getting promoted to assistant professor or senior instructor. That's a session at noon, so email me separately. But if you could advance again. And so what does it mean to have a faculty appointment? Our faculty handbook for the entire university outlines what it means to be a faculty. You have a faculty appointment because you are an expert in your field and do 2 of the following. You either are a teacher, a researcher, or you do professional service in the School of Medicine. We define that as both administrative and clinical service when applicable. So you, as Dineen said, select a primary area of excellence. This is what you are known for outside of the area and what you are contributing the scholarship to. And then you must participate in one of the other 2 areas. So out of those 3, teaching, research, and service, you pick 2. If you could advance. So when we review candidates for promotion to associate professor and professor, we do look at all of the research, teaching, and service. So even if you're like, well, I dabble in a 2, or all 3 areas, I mean, 1 is my primary, but nothing hurts you, right? It all goes to the benefit of your participation in your faculty activities, if you could advance. If your major strength is research or clinical service, so this is the professional service, and you're getting promoted to associate professor, you must have that regional level of expertise and recognition or an emerging. So sometimes there's not.
You meant
really,
teaching.
I'm sorry. Yes, I did. Thank you very much. I'm reading it, but it's just not making it. So teaching or professional service. If you are going for that is your primary area of excellence and you're going up for promotion to associate professor, it is a regional or emerging national reputation. And we include that because sometimes there is not a regional kind of group. Sometimes there is a Midwest group on bioethics, but not really. So it may be some national organizations, but the idea is that you are being scholarly in your approach and then you are generating scholarship. So you are going to meetings, you are exchanging ideas and getting asked to speak at other locations. If you are identifying your primary of excellence as teaching or service, that professional service, and you are going to be promoted to professor, you need a national recognition. Okay, if you could advance. Okay. So if you identify teaching as your primary of excellence, teaching and your educational efforts don't always come across very well in your CV, or it's not a full appreciation of everything that you do and that goes into teaching well. As a requirement to get our reviewers a better understanding of your contributions, your approach, your impact, we require that you have a teaching portfolio. It is a max of 25 pages. And this is because historically we would get 400 pages with like copies of people's slides and these presentations that we've done. And as a reviewer, you are unable to appreciate everything that is in there. So we ask you to please condense it, right? This is not a copy and paste from your CV saying, yeah, here are the courses or here are all my mentors. You are selecting and highlighting and doing a deeper dive into kind of the gems of your teaching. So if the first piece is your teaching philosophy, you're taking the time to talk about how you as an educator approach your learners, right? What works? Why do you do it the way you do? How do you incorporate feedback? What is your philosophy? It's not just, I'm a good teacher and I show up. We want something more. A thoughtful approach, a scholarly approach. What is your own professional development in education? And again, I think this is probably a good opportunity to say there are lots of professional development education opportunities. And if you are interested, please let me know. We do toolkits. We have different centers, both at the university and within the School of Medicine. Some of these are fellowships. some of these pair you with medical students or healthcare professional students over the summer, and it's a 9-month curriculum. Like there are so much out there, and they're pretty fantastic experiences. This would all get incorporated into this teaching portfolio and a little more involvement, because we ask you to talk about your teaching inventory. Tell me about your learners, talk about specific curriculum and curriculum pieces, and you're going into a deeper dive. So on my CV saying I teach Beth, 415C, I had 32 students and it was the spring of 2018. Great, right? But I can talk about my collaboration with, an international course in Costa Rica where we went to different primary, tertiary, I'm going to jump over primary, secondary, tertiary systems. And I get to elaborate on what we did and how we did it and the impact. And so teaching portfolios are required if you elect teaching as your primary area of excellence. I strongly recommend that if you do any teaching, that this is something that you work on. It is a wonderful resource for you to create, to use in promotions, in talks, and also to next positions and things like that. So if you can do the next slide. Okay, so I went over this a little bit. These are the pieces. Again, we have workshops and recorded sessions about how to put together a teaching portfolio. I also would like to say that we have an academy of educators in which a teaching portfolio is the application. And so this is something that is a wonderful step that can get you into a group that are educators and they work with you on this. It is recognizing teaching contributions to our case community. So it's a similar format, but there are different standards for acceptance into that academy, but it's a really nice place to start. So if you could go to the next slide. Clinical excellence. What we traditionally expect, sometimes people are like, well, it's not the same, but what is often in the portfolios and the CVs and the packets that we receive when clinical excellence is the primary of excellence, is that you are moving from a participant to a leader. And what that looks like is in your national organizations, in your affinity groups, you are not just attending a conference, you've moved up and they've asked you as your peers to please lead a session, to facilitate a panel, to work on OSCEs, to evaluate questions, to work on white papers. What are the standards? How do we teach our residents potentially? But again, it's one of those invitations to collaborate and put out new practices and methods, and it's that recognition by your peers. It also means that you're getting referrals for patients, that their patient satisfactions, all of that counts. And so again, it focuses though on the scope. So you have to be doing a wonderful job, which you are at the institution. And then, you are known, people know about your expertise. And as a result, they're asking you to take a lead in your field. So on the non-tenure track, when you identify that primary area, please also remember that you have to identify a second area. Next slide. For research, you can either be independent individual kind of researcher where it's the traditional R01, first, last author, or since 2006, we've had in our promotions, appointments, and tenure criteria that we recognize team science. And so, it is more and more common that we have collaborations, that research requires expertise in many different fields to make it work. And so you may have this niche, and we recognize that even if it looks a little different. So you may not be the PI of a grant, you may not be first or last author, but you are bringing original, creative, indispensable contributions to that team, and as a result, you're integral. And so in these cases for team science, we ask you to identify research colleagues that can speak to your team contributions, and we require that you actually mention your team science, describe it in your personal statement. It should be in the Committee on Appointment and Promotion letter. It should be in the chair's nomination letter. and your CV should be annotated. So every time there is a grant or a publication, you explain your unique role over and above just, I was part of the team. And that helps any reviewer appreciate why what you're bringing is unique and indispensable. Next slide. Please. Okay, so, oh, I lied. So for promotion to associate professor, just going back one slide, on the research, if you identify that as your area of excellence, you must provide evidence of a national level recognition for associate professor. Again, there's no regional recognition for research. What we look towards really is already at a national level. And then for promotion to professor, you must have that sustained excellence and enhanced recognition. So the abbreviation is national reputation for associate professor, international reputation for professor. But again, based on what you did with your first application or with your application when you were appointed at associate professor, you should be doing more, right? It's just an element of growth, and we're going to focus on those additional contributions. Thanks, Deneen. If you could go forward. All right, so your promotion is driven by you. You get to decide when it works with your schedule, what timing is right, based on everything else that is going on in your life and your goals. But make sure that it is among your goals, so that if you have a plan, you work backwards and you decide that, you know, what needs to be done to make that. It should be continuous. So some simple examples that I have found really helpful is that, you know, pick a day on the calendar, and every 5th day of the month, you update your CV. It is so easy to forget everything that we're done, every committee that we were asked to do, every mentoring relationship, whether it be peer or a student or a colleague at another institution. We get asked to do a lot of stuff, and I think it's amazing if anyone can track it all. And so have a folder, have an email folder where you can put all these opportunities into, and then come up with a schedule that works for you, and update your CV continually so you know that it's never outdated. I have done the work of looking back at my Google Calendar and trying to figure out when I'm supposed to or did that lecture, and it's for your annual review, but it makes it less painful. Okay, so just come up with this. The CV is critical, and there is a very specific template. I'm sorry, this is the case one, but Dineen has referred to the CCLCM one. They're very similar. I think there are some internal references to the one that is available at the clinic, but they follow the same format. It is organized, so it looks at your education activities, your service activities, and your research activities. And we ask you to subcategorize this as international, national, regional, and local. And your activities already kind of put into those subcategories is wonderfully helpful for any reviewer, so that they may not know what a certain award is or a certain committee or an activity. If they know that the conference is happening in Cleveland, that doesn't make it local, because it could be an international conference that chose to happen in Cleveland. And we want to make sure that we are appreciating your activities appropriately. So those subcategories are just incredible. One thing to keep in mind with the CV is that we have a really diverse faculty population, which is fantastic. But as a result, you may not have something for each category. So use it as a guide. So if it talks about, you know, please list the journals that you review for, and you don't, maybe that's a good thing to talk to a mentor about and say, I don't do that, right? So how do I get asked to do that? And who can sponsor me and make a recommendation of, Nicole's interested in doing this? And then over the years, as you develop in your career, and again, you gain your reputation, at some point, maybe being on an editorial board. A note of caution is we don't want them to be predatory. So if you wouldn't read the journal, you probably shouldn't be on that editorial board. Next slide, please. Okay, find mentors. It's interesting. I have a sister who has had mentors, and she keeps them for decades, right? I I have some of those, but I also have mentors that are for a specific project. So I'm working, with another faculty member at a different institution to go on to write a manual, right? This is going to be an 18-month project. That's the mentoring relationship. That's the scope of it. Other mentors have been to help me present. Other mentors have helped me go through, drafts for an article, or exploring a new approach to my research and qualitative analysis. Mentors can be diverse. And so they can be internal, they can be external to your institution. Gather them, but be very clear about your expectations. And so use that to your advantage. And it's a lot easier to say, hi, I am going up for promotion. I would like you, to help me with this process. And would you be interested in being my mentor, meeting with me 3 times over the next 6 months to look over my materials, to weigh in on my CV and personal statement and my teaching portfolio? It's a lot easier to accept as a mentor when you know what time commitment, what the ask is. And it can always be extended or change or evolve. But I think there are really responsibilities on both the mentor and the mentee. And the more explicit you are, and the more in sync you are, the better relationship, and the more you'll get out of it. Next page, please. So as I was talking about kind of updating your CV, you also have an annual review. So it's the emphasis may change, but I will say if promotions is part of this, this should be something that is on the table and part of the agenda that you discuss. So if you're saying, I'm not really interested in this right now, but it's in the future, so it's in my 5-year plan or my 3-year plan, you can start saying, I know I'm going to need help identifying external arm's length referees, or I think I need to get invited to some other presentations, or I know that you do this in your CV, I'd like to do something similar. Have it be part of a conversation, make that an ask, and also, use it to say, this is the amazing stuff I'm doing for our institution. How do I take it outside? And so please use your annual review as one of those opportunities. Next slide. And then get to know colleagues at other institutions. I went to my first in-person conference since November of 2019, just last week. And I forgot how great it was. I forgot that you could have wonderful, spontaneous conversations. And it was great to see that people are dedicated and motivated and commiserate with some of the anxieties and stresses of situations. But they're wonderful colleagues, and they're not just here. And so please look externally, check out different organizations and institutions. It's not always comfortable, and it's not everyone's comfort zone to make those overtures to reach out at those meetings. Sometimes virtually. It's actually been nice with smaller kind of groups or coffee hours, but don't skip it. I guess that's my main point is use it to your advantage. Any opportunity you have to extend beyond the university community is worth it for purposes of promotion. I think I'm almost done. Just to remember, document your teaching. Teaching evaluations are required and expected of every single promotion candidate. If it's not, you need to have a note for Dineen in the packet that just says, I don't do traditional teaching. But then at that point, because we define teaching so broadly, we would really expect you to have letters from, trainees in your lab or something else that at least talks about your role and effectiveness as a teacher. It's just an expectation from the provost. So that's why they expect and require that. I think this is the final one. So please be selective. Again, we get asked to do a lot of stuff. And service contributions are important, but especially if you're a junior, you can kind of get sucked into a lot of it. And it's nice to be asked. It's flattering to have people say, I think you'd be great at this. We want you to do this. We want to have your voice at the table. Make sure that it's something that aligns with your interest, that you like the people. And if it's something that you can't say no to, try and kind of get it done, but move on and find something that really does align with your interests and that will evolve to something that is scholarly and scholarship. And so we have workshops on negotiation that also I think are relevant to this, because sometimes you get asked and you can't say no, but it's a way to respond to say, great, if I'm taking this on as well, how does this fit in the priority of these other things that I'm doing? All right, I think that's it. Last slide, maybe. Yeah, scholarship is key. So again, it's that outward facing, evidence-based, peer-reviewed that we're really looking for when we're evaluating for senior level promotions. Okay, no, okay. This is one more thing. Make yourself indispensable. I just keep saying it different ways, but try to find your niche, the role in your department and fill it. Now, you guys, again, are doing incredible work. Make it known. Be very proud of what you're doing and talk about it. Okay. You should just end, because even if there's something else, I can't.
There is right here.
Yeah, we're very excited. We want to help you. Ultimately, this has to be your responsibility and you get to drive it. So knowing when promotion fits in, it's not a straight line. There's not, a clock on it for a non-tenure track. Make it work for you, but it's your life and it's your career. So get recognized when you're ready and we'll help you do it. If there are questions, thanks.
Yes.
Thank you, Deneen, for doing that.
Absolutely. Dr. Kaboo, or any questions right now? We'll have Dr. Kaboo speak a little while.
I just have a quick question. My name's Peter Byach. I'm a urologist at Cleveland Clinic. So in the, clinical space and also in the medical device space, there are sometimes opportunities to collaborate with industry on advisory boards and things like that as a, content expert. Is there any role for those kinds of opportunities in, this type of CV when it comes to promotion? I mean, it is a way in which you're kind of identified as one of the experts in this area, but yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, again, absolutely. I'm sorry, I'm nodding like a bobblehead, but yes, absolutely. We see it all the time with patents. There's a lot of effort and innovation that goes into that. That is absolutely something that we recognize and support, and you get credit for it. The other thing is normally they don't seek you out unless you've established yourself as a good knowledgeable individual that has expertise in that area that will benefit their team. And so again, if it was in development, it was an advisory, it may not be something that a reviewer knows about, right? So again, some of these company names, I'm like, okay, enterprise, like, are you a spaceship or are you something else? And you need to annotate that, explain it a little bit so that the reviewer understands that, oh, this is a company that works on this type of surgical implement or device in surgery, urology, whatever it is. And my role in it was this. And here is a little more information so that we understand, are you, explain it to us, right? And so that absolutely counts. And we're glad you're doing it.
Do you have one follow-up question? Do you have any advice as to what part of the CV that would be most appropriate for, or should it kind of have its own section?
It actually has its own subtitle. Like we say, patents are part of it. So, I mean, it's around that, devices, patents. It's basically innovation.
And there's also an advisory group category under committees. And if there isn't one that you think works for you, you can make a new subsection under there and label it what you want.
Exactly.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Right.
I just want to offer myself. I'm Cindy Kaboo. I'm serving as the Vice Dean for Faculty, and I've been doing this, not the Vice Dean for several years, but like these promotion workshops. I've had the privilege of serving as the co-chair of the School of Medicine Committee on Appointments, Promotions, and Tenure. So I can give you that faculty perspective as one of the reviewers, which I think is very unique and helpful. And I apologize if some of these points have been made, but I just want to emphasize a couple things that come up fairly regularly. From a reviewer's perspective, you want to remember that we all want you to succeed. We are not out there to try and trip you up. We're not out there scouring your CV and personal statements with the goal of like undermining your application. You make our life easier. If you don't use acronyms and we know what you're talking about in terms of what these national organizations are, you help clearly explain what your role is in your personal statement. And then also what you want to do is think about your reviewers as really smart people who may not be in your field. And so you want to be able to explain your role, what you do, and your unique contributions to like a colleague, say if you're in radiology, who's, I don't know, a psychiatrist or a pediatrician or a biostatistician, okay? And so I think those things are important to use everyday language to explain things in a clear, coherent way, and to recognize that we're here to really help you succeed. And that's our primary goal. And I guess if you have questions from that reviewer's perspective, I'm available as well. In addition, there is a cohort of individuals at the clinic who've agreed to help serve as kind of reviewers for applications and personal statements and so on as well. So if I can help that way, please let me know.
That's great. Any other questions? I was going to have us all talk a little more about personal statements at this workshop, just to give them a little more information on, you know, what they should put into it. I would say, from what I've learned is make it like Dr. Kaboo said, very, you know, don't use acronyms, spell it out. A lot of people make their personal statements so detailed that they actually have a list of references at the bottom that they're citing. I would say that's a little too detailed, that you just want to give more of an overall, and you definitely want to talk about your primary area of excellence and your secondary. What I've heard is don't make them guess, spell it out for them. Dr. Benjamin Lee told me that, you know, spell it out. Don't make them try to figure it out. Put exactly why you have that reputation and exactly how you got it, and just put it all in there for them. And then annotate anything that maybe wasn't explained well enough on your CV, explain it in your personal statement if you need to. What else would you?
We have a question. We have one question. What is a reasonable amount of time to wait between obtaining assistant professorship and applying for associate? Understanding that each case is different.
I think it depends on what you've achieved in that. I mean, if you look at the criteria for associate professor within the regular track, it would be a clear regional to national reputation, right? And that you've shown that upward trajectory. Most people, it can take roughly 5 years, give or take a couple, right? But there are some where they've had such a steep trajectory that it makes sense within, you know, 2 years. Those are going to be the rarities, I think it's fair to say. So it really depends on what you've achieved and if you meet that threshold. Nicole?
Yeah, there's no minimum requirement or maximum. We don't require you to wait so many years or require you to go up after so many. But I will say the average is like 5 to 7. And that's just because we don't know what happened before. Did you have a postdoc? Did you have, you know, 2 different residencies and a fellowship in which you published and started to gain that reputation? And then your first faculty appointment was an assistant professor, but you were already a little more advanced, right? So we are going to look at, you know, your what you're doing and what you've accomplished and where you're known. But I would say upon average is really that 6.
Because we're really looking at what you've done since your last appointment or promotion. So if you're just applying because time has passed, that won't be good enough. You need to show that you've expanded on your national, if that's what you had, and done more and grown more and have more of a reputation than your previous appointment. Yeah. So did you, Dr. Kaboo or Nicole, want to talk about the personal statement a little more?
I think one thing that I might say, and I don't know, how many of you may be engaged in both team science as well as be the primary investigator? I'm guessing that may be the case, particularly because that's what a lot of science is now. It's a mix of team and independent. And I think that if you are a team scientist, it's nice to kind of spell that out in a little bit more detail in your personal statement if you have that. For myself, I've got a fair number of publications in which I'm a team scientist. I work on neurosurgical teams, and so I'm not going to be the primary or senior author. but the work was indispensable in terms of moving the science forward. And then I have my own independent line of research that is very different. And so I kind of clarified that in my personal statement, once again, to help the reviewers better understand my contributions to science. The only other thing I would say in terms of a personal statement is sometimes this can be very difficult for women in certain faculty groups, because we're kind of socialized not to kind of highlight our achievements. And there are ways of doing that that are you should be doing that. That's all I'm saying, is you should be doing that. And there are ways of stating that that may feel a little bit more comfortable with you, like privileged to do this, member of this team, and so on. But you really do need to illustrate to the reviewers what your accomplishments are. And that may kind of be against how we've been socialized in some ways. I know that's a common concern that I hear, thankfully a little bit less so, but still there, from some women faculty as well as other faculty who may be in minority groups.
I've definitely heard it from men in majority groups even. Some people just have an issue. But I said, if you're actually ready to apply and you feel you're ready, then then you need to do yourself the service of explaining why. And that is talking about what you've done. And it's not bragging, it's just putting the facts out there.
And I think the thing is once again, not only with the acronyms, but individuals may not understand the importance of some of the honors that you've had or you've received. And to say, you know, this is something that, you know, there's something recently in my field where there's 25 years ago, we developed the guidelines for training nationally. And now they're doing it again 25 years later. And they're only picking about 50 people to do that. So that's a huge honor when you think about the national impact.
Nice. And then just a piece about organization. So you get 3 pages to talk about your personal statement. This goes out, like it travels with your packet, but it's also sent to every single external referee. So you are telling an external referee who is asked to please evaluate you, and you're giving them the answer. They're like, well, yes, I do have a national reputation. And because my primary area is clinical service, right? Here's how I am known nationally. So your personal statement should be organized, your strongest element first. So if you are clinical service and then research and then teaching, that's how it's organized. That's how you divide, you know, the space that it gets in your personal statement. You use the standard and be explicit. So if you need a national reputation, you say, I have a national reputation and let me tell you how it is, right? These are the activities, here are the committees, here is the scholarship, here are the invitations to speak, here are my, you know, papers, and by the way, they've been cited, or I've collaborated with these groups, and here's the impact, right? Then you go to the second, then you go to the third. And it's again, you're doing the work for them. So when they have your CV and your personal statement, and they have a copy of the criteria for promotion, it's all laid out there, right? You've done the work for them. They're like, great, thanks. And then they just write up. So the idea is, straightforward, simple, well organized, and put it out there.
Yeah. And I think related to that, something I always say, that your academic rank should reflect your CV, right? And so, you know, if you've done the work, it's just a matter of documenting it in an easy way so that people can understand that and help support your application. And we want you to succeed. We want to make it easy for the reviewers.
We're all here for you. We're all here for you to succeed, to help you. Any questions from anybody?
Or what other concerns?
Is your hand up, Dr. Bajik? Or is that from before? Okay. Anyone?
I think I killed the conversation when I joined. I apologize for being late, but I had another meeting that went late. And if you have questions, it's pretty easy to find me. I'm the only Kaboo anywhere, and Nicole's very accessible, as well as Deneen.
Absolutely. Yeah, so there's no deadlines, but please go ahead and do them as soon as you're ready. We will review your application and tell you if anything needs to be updated or fixed. Any, any tips we know, we will let you know about. And, feel free to email us at facultyaffairs@cclcm@ccf.org. Anything else? We're getting done really quick here.
That's okay. I just want to thank everybody for doing this, especially on a gorgeous June evening.
Yes.
Not that and I think that, Beverly's on the beach someplace, but.
I know, but she called in. That was nice of her. Yes, we have another workshop like this in September and then one in December. There's also toolkits and items from CASE that are offered. So please feel free or just email us if you need anything. If you don't have any other questions, Dr. Nasashi, I see your hand up. No? Yes?
I don't see
All
any
right.
hands up.
Yeah, I don't have anything. No one.
Really, I saw a little hand. I assume that's what it was, but she's gone now.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
everyone.
We have
Thank
one
you.
question.
Oh,
We have one question. Where can we find the toolkits?
You bet. 1 second. So I will say that because sometimes there may be an issue with something coming out of CASE and getting to the clinic emails, we do now send them to Dineen and Dineen can redistribute them. Historically, we record them and so they are there. And I am getting the link right now and putting
if
it.
you Google
There you go.
CASE toolkits faculty, it comes up as well.
So
How
And-
come that went out under my name?
what?
That link went out under my name.
She's in your office if you don't know that.
No,
She-
it says me to everyone. I don't know. This is
Oh, you-
yes. I'm
you are
actually-
listed as Dr.
Kaboo.
Kaboo. Yeah.
I have no idea how I got to be named Cynthia Kaboo, but that's fantastic.
Oh, really? Okay. All right.
I'm honored. All right.
All right. Thank you, everyone.
Take
know.
care.
Oh, can we have a list of items? That's okay, Dr. Kaboo, you can go. We can help this person. Can we have a list of items that should be covered in the personal statement? In our requirements checklist for every rank, there is information on what you should put in your personal statement. And it's basically what Dr. Kaboo and Nicole were talking about. But I will go ahead and update that to be a little more clear. But basically, Nicole was saying, cover your primary area of excellence first, then your secondary area of excellence, and then the final area, and then anything else that needs to be explained better. Any award that you didn't annotate on your CV maybe, or anything else you want to tell them. You can also tell them your goals going forward. Might be nice to add near the end of what, what else you plan on doing. Right?
Good
Okay.
question.
Yeah. All right.
All righty.
Enjoy the sun. Okay. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
You're welcome. Bye.